Hey, y'all, I'm Melissa Guerra. I am the Kitchen Wrangler, and welcome back to my podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Right now, I think I'm at 18 subscribers, so all 18 of y'all, thank you. Thank you for subscribing to my crazy podcast. I really appreciate you. And I am just here to nerd out on food history because it's my jam. And I wanted to share it with you. I used to lecture at culinary schools about food history, which again is something I really love. But I stopped all that so I could spend more time studying food history and to truly nerd out in full nerdy fashion. So that's what I'm going to do. So today's podcast is titled, what did I name it? It's so crazy. Iraq street vendors and donuts. There's so much to talk about today. So if you've already subscribed, then let's get into it. So I've always wondered where the donut got its name. It doesn't have any nuts at all. And if I didn't speak English, I would be so incredibly confused as to why it was called a donut. That's just crazy. But I've been doing a deep dive on the name donuts because I have that kind of time to try to figure out where did the connection between dough and nuts happen. It is the oddest name. I mean, it is such a popular food with such a bizarre name that nobody seems to really explain. I mean, the hole in the donut, people already know. You need a hole in the donut so that it cooks very evenly. There are thousands of articles about the hole in the donut, but nobody talks about the donut name. So one of the reoccurring themes when I'm sorry, I just had a glass of water. When I start talking, you all 18 of you make me nervous. You make me nervous. My mouth gets dry. I just had a glass of water, so I keep swallowing. So anyway, I will try to behave a little bit better for y'all. So maybe I'll get another follower. Anyway, when I talk about food history, my goal, my theory, my philosophy, my belief, my firm belief is that wherever an ingredient came from, the people of that area get 100% credit for that ingredient. Like, say, for instance, bamboo. Everybody knows that bamboo is from China. So whenever you see a bamboo shoot, even if you see it in a French restaurant with French dressing on it, being served by a French person, it is still Chinese. It is still from China. And so that shows Chinese influence. Okay, I'm sorry, my bizarre little French-Chinese analogy there. But when you know that a plant is native from a certain country, you have to give the people of that country 100% credit for the way that ingredient makes it around the world. Okay, phew, all the nerdiness is done. Well, not all the nerdiness, some of the nerdiness. Okay, we've gotten it out of the way. I hope you understand that concept. So one of my bucket list, I don't even like to call it a bucket list because that means I'm going to kick the bucket someday. I'm not into that. I'm into sparkling. So on my sparkle list, I want to go to Iraq. Maybe I'll just go there in my mind. But it is part of the Fertile Crescent, and wheat is from the Fertile Crescent. Now, let me see. Hang on. You know me and technology. We're acquainted, but we're not good friends. Hold on. What does this say? All right. So let's see if I can show you the Fertile Crescent. So if you look down towards the bottom of the screen, you will see the Fertile Crescent. Okay, so see that the part that's outlined in green, that is the Fertile Crescent. And on this particular map, it's showing you where certain domesticated animals came from and certain plants. And you can see emmer wheat, which is kind of a primitive primordial wheat. You can see that kind of towards the west. So there was a lot of they have found evidence of domesticated animals in the Fertile Crescent, but they have also found evidence of the original wheat in the Fertile Crescent. So we have to give the people of the Fertile Crescent 100% credit for the proliferation of wheat around the world. So let's look at the next slide, because that'll well, no, that's not very good. Okay, well, this is a good slide because I wanted you to see this. I'm going to be referring to Persia. Now, Persia it's an ancient term for a part of the world that does still exist, but it's not really called Persia anymore. If you look at the little purple outline, that is more or less the boundaries of ancient Persia. So if we see the river that is here at the bottom, that is the Tigris. And it has like little bunny ears. That's how you always know it's the Tigris, because it has these little bunny ears here. And so the people of this area, they were the ones that first identified the plant of wheat, and they cultivated it, they improved it, and then they distributed it to the rest of the world. So this is what, oh, dagnabbit, now I realize I don't have my modern, that's what I'm missing, is the map for modern Persia is not showing up. But right at that point where emmer wheat is showing was originated, that is modern day Iraq. Now, does everybody want to go on a vacation to Iraq? Probably not. But that is where wheat is from, and it is from the ancient land of Persia, modern day Iraq. So donuts are made with wheat flour. So we have to give credit of donuts, the recipe for donuts, to the people of the Fertile Crescent. And actually, if you go and look at the foods, if you look at the doughs that they make in the Fertile Crescent area, in where ancient Persia was, there are some very fascinating recipes. Let's look at this first one. Okay. This is bamieh, and these are enjoyed during religious holidays. And I don't know if you ever had a Spanish churro, but if you have, you're probably looking at these and going, those aren't Persian, those are Spanish churros. Well, there's a story behind that as well, because for 800 years, the Moors, who are from northern Africa and very near Persia, part of Persia, they occupied Spain for 800 years. So the Moors invaded Spain, and they were there from the year 711 to 1492, right before Columbus hit the road. They were there a very long time. So the recipes of Persia made their way into Spain. This is a very recent photograph. Well, obviously, photographs they've existed for like 125 years. So, but they are still making this dessert in present day Iran, Iraq, and Israel. It is still being enjoyed. So, but this is a very ancient recipe. And what's very interesting, though, is once it got from present day Iraq, Iran, from ancient Persia, once it got from ancient Persia up into Spain, what the Spaniards did is then they combined it with a new world ingredient, chocolate. So the Spaniards took this recipe that was old from the ancient world, from the origins of wheat, and they kind of tweaked it and made it their own. And so whenever you go to Spain, when you go to Madrid, we went to, Churreria San Ynez, and my son took me there, and you had these really wonderful churros that looked just like this, but you would dip it in this very, very thick, not so sweet chocolate. Amazing. It was just one of those moments in my life when I sparkled. It wasn't on my bucket list. That will be forever on my sparkle list. If I get a chance to go to Spain again and eat churros with my son, I am doing it. So let's look at the next one. This is, I have to be careful. I'm probably going to say this wrong. Gauche et fil. You can see the name there. Gauche et fil. And that is fried dough with a glaze on it. And let me go back and say these bamieh, this is dough with a glaze on it. These gauche et fil, these are dough with a glaze on it. Now these are missing the hole, but these are smaller. Once you get into a larger piece of dough, then you do have to put a hole in it so that it cooks correctly and you don't have mushy, uncooked dough in the middle. So these, we were talking about the origins of wheat. These are the origins of donuts. The fried dough with a glaze, because these come from the area of the world where wheat originated. And the original discoverers of wheat developed these. I think that's fascinating. And yeah, I'm here with my low-tech paper because it never fails me. The battery never runs out. So that's what I'm working with today is my little paper notes here. But there was another sweet that was very popular during ancient times and in Persia, and that would have been almonds with honey. Now, Egypt was right. Let's get back to this. Let's go back a little ways. Okay, so bunny ears here from the Tigris River. Right over here is Egypt. To the west is Egypt. So the pyramids, King Tut, all of those folks, they were very nearby. And in King Tut's pyramid, in his tomb, he had, not only did he have almonds, but he had honey. And so honeyed almonds were probably the first candy that existed in the ancient world. You could say that, well, they may have had access to sugar, but let's think about sugar for a minute. You have to do a lot to a piece of sugar cane to get it to turn into sugar. First you have to raise it, which is a mess. It is we raise sugar cane here in Texas, actually just down the road from me. It's a very involved process. And then you have to squeeze the juice. You have to boil it. You have to make the granulated sugar. It is a long, long, long process. Honey, the bees do all the work, and it is much, much easier. So the first candies of the world are honey mixed with almonds. And so that is one, in addition to these fried dough desserts, honeyed almonds are the first candy of any recipe that I'm aware of. So let's go forward a little bit here. Go past our delicious fried dough, and we're going to get into honeyed almonds. Now, if you look at this person, they are wearing a plastic glove. So that tells me this is a very recent photo where we have health standards or some kind of standard. And this, in Spain, these are called almendras garapiñadas, and garapiñada just means that it has been coated with sugar. It has been boiled in a sugar syrup, so it has that crispy candy coating. Yum. And they make them in Mexico too. If you've ever been to Mexico, I live here on the border of Mexico. I go all the time, and getting cacahuates garapiñados or getting almendras garapiñadas in the street from a street vendor is very, very common. It is so delicious. You can smell the aroma from a great distance. It just smells so good. So one time I was in Mexico, though, and I discovered this cookie, this sweet. It's a candy, it's a sweet, it's a cookie, it's a strange thing. They're called muéganos. And I couldn't find the origin of the etymology for the word muégano. But a muégano, what it is a small fried piece of dough that has been doused in a sugar syrup. Now, the first thing I thought of when I saw muéganos for the first time, let me get to my next slide, is that they look like nuts. It's a nut made out of dough. And I thought, well, here is the missing link. And I really believe that I am correct. But what I would have to do, but I haven't found proof. Now, if any of y'all go to like medieval fairs and you've researched medieval recipes in either Spain or England, and there's a recipe for small pieces of dough that are fried and then coated in a sugar syrup, please put a comment below, because I really need to find more proof that these were cooked on the street by vendors that would have called them a dough nut, because that's what they are. They are a nut made out of dough. And why would you do that? Well, maybe you ran out of nuts, or maybe nuts weren't in season, Or maybe if you're a street vendor, you're looking for something super economical and cheap that you can sell to the passerbys. But after you've seen the bamier, go back to that little, sorry if I'm driving you nuts here going back and forth, but I'm kind of enjoying myself. So if you look at this fried piece of dough that is doused in sugar, and then you're looking at this fried piece of dough that's doused in sugar, then it doesn't take you too long to get to this, to muéganos. And these are usually made during the holidays, during Lent, and actually the bamier and the gauche fil, that's made during Ramadan. So they're all religious. They're always made during religious holidays, whether you're Christian or you're Muslim. They always seem to be made to celebrate religious holidays. Here's another one of muéganos. Those are a little bit larger, and you can see the woman is dipping them out of the copper kettle, which is the same type of copper kettle that would be used if you were making sugared almonds, the almendras garapiñadas. So you can see that there's quite a few links in here, but I need to find the English link so that I can say, yes, dough nuts have been produced in English-speaking countries since the time of, I guess, when the Moors were part of Spain. So I don't know everything, but I wanted to share some of my research with you because these are the things that I think of during the day. How did donuts get its name? I am on the trail. I'm so close. I'm so close. I'm getting there. But it does help that I speak Spanish, though, as well, because otherwise I wouldn't have ever known what the provenance of a muégano was. But they are very particular to Huamantla in Tlaxcala, which is one of the southern states in Mexico. And what I think happened was that the Spaniards took this recipe for muéganos from Spain to the New World, to Mexico, because Tlaxcala was one of the first places that the Spaniards were. It was where Hernán Cortés was. And I think they took this recipe with them, but it was directly inherited from the Moors, who had been in Spain for 800 years. So that is my thought process. Let's see. Oh, one last photo. Okay, so yeah, sorry, my paper notes slow me down a little bit. Oh, this is one more of muéganos. Can you see, like, look at that kettle. They're putting in the little pieces of dough. Now, this is a guy in New York. Now, if any of my 17 followers are in New York, I am sure you have seen this guy out on the street. There's little carts everywhere. Whenever I've been to a convention in New York, I will see these little guys making their sugared almonds right there in a kettle. You can smell them. Again, gorgeous. But just like the street vendors in Mexico, just like the street vendors in Spain, and just like the street vendors in Persia, I assume, because I have not yet been to Iraq, again, it's on my sparkle list. I am really hoping that I can make it there someday to experience all of the great fried dough that they have there in the Fertile Crescent. All right, well, that is it. That is all I've got for you all today. I'm going to continue to research this. At some point, I will find that recipe from ancient England where they were speaking English, where they called these muéganos dough nuts. I'm going to get there. I'm going to keep on it. But make sure you subscribe so you can follow my crazy, let me go back here. Let's see. So you can follow my crazy studies in food. I don't think it's so crazy. I think it's fun to know, like, where your food gets its name from. I mean, donut top, who doesn't want to talk about donuts? I don't particularly want to talk about, what world politics. I'd rather talk about donuts. I hope you do too. But just make sure that you subscribe. Tune in for next week. And I will have more food history to share with you. I'm Melissa Guerra. I'm the Kitchen Wrangler, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here at the ranch next week. Bye now.